All right, two things I don't like about my swap. One, you look down there, see this bracket right here? Right here. That's just a regular alternator bracket that came off a 65 Chevy Impala. That's all it is. I'm using the stock bottom alternator bracket for the OM617. But the problem is, that's a double pulley alternator, and I'm only able to run one belt on it with the configuration that I have now. So let me turn this off so you can hear a little better. All right, so my biggest gripe is, you can see down in there, let's see if I can, my phone's not gonna focus. Right there, you can see double pulley. The front pulley is being used, but the back one is not. And I have two belts. So the alternator pulley right here runs on the front pulley of the original water pump. That goes down to the crank. Okay, right there, follows it straight down to the crank. The second belt goes from my power steering pump all the way down the crank, back up and around the water pump pulley. So I need to figure out how guys are figuring this out here. And this is how I got it hooked up. It's just a Chevy one wire alternator. It's like 110 amps, 130 amps, something like that. Just run a fatty wire right here all the way up to the positive side of my battery, and this thing charges this thing perfectly fine. Even though when you look at the video my headlights look dim, that's not because of the alternator not putting out enough power, just because of these crappy ass Toyota headlights. Been in here since 1995. So, and for some of you who've been asking about the intercooler, that's my intercooler right there. It came off an old school Saab turbo. There's a part number on there if you want to look that up. You can get them on eBay for about, the ones that have the plastic outside housing right here are about $65, $75. But if you want one that's solid aluminum like this one on both ends, I saw one on there like last week. I was looking for another guy. They're about $275. And you might be able to find them cheaper somewhere else too. And some other people have been asking, is this a, how does my snorkel work on this truck? Yes, it is a full functionable snorkel. Comes through here, and then you can see the piping right here. Well, this is part of the stereo fuse, never mind that, but the piping goes all the way here and then goes down to the front of my turbo setup right there. Yep, so it is functionable. And I have had my truck up to the nose in a creek and didn't suck any water in. So far this is working pretty good. I don't want to jinx myself, but I don't want to put a lot into this swap because, to be honest, I've heard you can turn the pump up by going into the very back of the pump, back down there, and there's a fuel adjustment screw. If you take that back cover off, and I actually have some diagrams that I got online to do it. But seeing what this is in a Toyota 4Runner, my space is so limited. I'm just not sure if I'm willing to do that yet, especially because I just recently picked up an OM606 turbo motor, and that's what I really wanted to put in this truck originally. But for the price everybody was asking for them, I decided to pass on that job and just go ahead and slap this one in, since these are so easily to come by. And so far it's been good, but like everybody knows, these motors are underpowered, right? These things make 100 horsepower if you're lucky, and running, you know, 33-inch tires with 410 gears, this thing is lifted quite a bit. It does fine on flat ground on the freeway. I mean, I can do 60, 70 miles an hour, no problem. But, you know, trying to come up any reasonably steep hill, she takes a little work. So definitely, if you could turn that fuel up just a little bit more to give you some more nuts, it would help. I do have an upgraded turbo, by the way. This is a Benz Force HE221. Shut up, Lola. That's my pit bull over there. She's trying to get her ball that went underneath my 5 Series there. But anyway, that is a Benz Force HE221 7.5 millimeter turbo. So that definitely did wake it up a little bit compared to the stock turbo, but not a whole lot, you know, to be honest. It was really, really slow without that, with the original turbo. But once I put this on, I don't know, maybe another 15 horsepower, maybe. That might be exaggerating it. I don't know. I don't have any way to dyno test it, but you can definitely feel the difference, let's put it that way. And my EGTs did come down quite a bit. And I'm using the stock OM617 radiator, as you can see, minus the oil cooler. The oil cooler is not there because I ran that little thin oil cooler on the side right there. And just in comparison, that thing's about, here's my feet, here's my finger, you know, usually typically from your tip of your finger to this line is 1 inch. So that thing's probably a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch wide by like 10 inches. Well, let's call it a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick by probably 10 inches wide by, you know, 12 inches long. So far it's been doing its job. I haven't had any problems out of it. This thing runs great. I do have one problem with this though. The glow plugs this glow plug box does not always work. It works intermittently, so I don't know if it's the box is starting to fail, but sometimes I'll get in and turn the key. As soon as I turn the key, clunk, you'll hear it click and the glow plugs are ready. Sometimes I'll turn the key and you won't hear anything, and this thing just don't want to start, you know, until I boost it with some ether, and which I don't like doing, but I just give it a little bit and I just keep cranking on it until she starts. But once she's warmed up, she's good to go all day. But that is a headache right there. I definitely need to figure that out if I'm going to keep this swap in here for any time. But again, winter's about here, man. Oh, but another thing, I did have to extend the front of my core support. I cut it right here. That's where the original bar goes across to the core support right there. So I cut it and I moved this forward. You can see, about 4 inches, just so I could put this in and run the stock blade, fan blade. Everything is stock I'm running here. And then I'll let the nose down, or the hood down, so you can see how that lines up. Because it's really not bad, to be honest. There, I got some hood pins on that thing. So I just notched out. You can see it still lines up with the corner of the fender there. It's a little off on this side, but that's because, you know, we had a little crash and burn one time up at Reader's Pit up in Monroe, Washington. I smacked a tree coming down this really steep embankment. But other than that, you know, I got some hood pin latches in there, and by all means, she ain't no beauty queen. This bad boy's a wheeler. She goes pretty much where I want her to go. It's welded front and back, 410 gears, and yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, hit me up. But this is my 1995 Toyota 4Runner OM617 swap. Soon as I can figure out how to get that OM606 in here, I'll be making some videos of that, because that's what I really want in this truck. And I'm sure I'm not going to have any oil pan clearance issues or anything like that. A lot of guys ask me about oil pan clearance issues with this Toyota, and to be honest, I have none. I have the Trail Gear IFS Eliminator kit on this, where you swap out the IFS system and install a straight axle. So this is SAS swapped, and just look how much space I got between the oil pan there. It's quite a bit, you know. This is the steering bar, all right there. So, you know, it's 4 inches at least, you know. Over here to get a little side view. Give you a side view. Can we get a side view? Yeah, see how much? Maybe even more. 6 inches. It's got quite a bit of clearance. So I think definitely with that OM606, I won't have any oil pan clearance issues. But again, see how tight this bad boy is? She's really tight. I've got about 2 inches back there behind those heater hoses. I got about 2 inches, maybe 3 inches I could go back. But I don't know about with that 606, man. I'm probably gonna have to cut this firewall, but that's okay. I got some buddies who are professionals at doing that, and they'll get it done if that's what needs to be. And these are the custom motor mounts. Let's let you take a look at these bad boys. That CS on it stands for the chop shop. And used to be a guy who lived out in Kapowson. His name was Brad, and he had a wheeler shop out there many years ago. I don't know what he's up to nowadays. I don't know his last name, but he was good friends with a guy named Odie. Any of you guys that know are in the Toyota world out here in Enumclaw and Buckley and Ording and stuff like that, you guys all know Odie. Anyway, Odie hooked me up with this Trail Gear stuff, this kit, and Brad made those motor mounts for me. And then the guys over at Trail Demon Fabrication out in Enumclaw made this badass bumper for me. Trail Demon, yep, you can look them up on Facebook. They build some fabulous fucking badass kick-ass wheelers. So this thing is nothing compared to what those guys make. As a matter of fact, they'd be embarrassed if I even probably said that they worked on this thing, because this is such a turd. But anyway, I appreciate those guys over there, and Jason Lindquist is just phenomenal. Has a phenomenal set of skills, man, and his son, and those guys have really helped me out on this thing, getting this thing on the road and getting it ready so I could do the things I needed to do. So shout out to them. And hopefully I can get those guys together so we can get this 606 swap in here soon. And I do have an external electric fan on the front. You can see it right there. Right there. And I only use that as a backup. I haven't had to use that thing yet. And last year here, you know, temperature got up to like 97 degrees. It was hot as fuck, you know, and this thing didn't overheat on me, not one bit. As a matter of fact, it didn't even run past 180. So, and that's with no fan shroud. You know, I have no fan shroud. So if you guys have any questions, oh, and some guys were asking me the amperage of my battery. What kind of battery am I running to turn this motor over? Man, this is a cheap ass Napa battery I got on their clearance sale. You know, cold cranking amps. This is what it is right here. I think I paid like $75 for this battery. You know, the Napa brand. It is a Deep Cycle Marine battery. Like I said, they were on clearance sale. This thing's been in here since, look at that, 2021. She's starting to get a little tired, but Oh, and I do have the Doomsday Diesel EGR Delete Kit on there. And you can see what I did right there. I just took the original EGR thing off, cut that off, saved the clamp. I got some of that stuff that you get at O'Reilly's, which is, it comes in a tube. It's like a paste. It's a 2-part paste, and you just kind of squeeze it back and forth and mix it together, and then it gets real hard. I forget what it's called, but anyway, I put that inside there to seal that up, and she's been running strong ever since. No problem. So, well, if you guys got a good idea on how I can fix that, I got distracted here talking too damn much, but I tried to answer a lot of questions, man, that people ask me all the time. So hopefully for the new guys, they come to my channel, they see this, they got some questions. Hopefully I answered, you know, all those questions for them. And if not, then go ahead and reach out to me. Let's see. Now what was I gonna say? Oh, I did have one problem with this thing. Down on the side. Oh, it's kind of dark, you can't see. Making that oil drain tube fitting, that was a bitch right there. And it's still not 100% pretty, but it's functionable. It works. And I got a little tiny oil drip, not much. Other than that, she works like a champ. I can't complain. All right, I guess that's about it. All right, well, thanks for looking. Later.